Hey, welcome to an impromptu episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host RJ, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Scott the Gooner and Rob the Red Devil. How are we, gentlemen?
Bad evening.
Augie, how are you, mate? Good?
Yeah.
What,
What
can I say, boys? I'm buzzing.
Oh,
I
burning.
made a nice little thing for Borgie.
I don't know what's worse, your haircut or that attempt at a banter poster.
I made that myself today, mate.
I can tell. We can
So
tell.
who drew that? Hey, Rob, who drew that picture? Be honest. Was it you?
No, I got it printed off, mate. Look at it. I reckon it's pretty decent. But
You know what we should have done? Arteta in. We should have had like the background theme as the B movie. You know, the old kids movie. We should have had that.
I was going to get real creative and I was going to print some bees off so they'll just hang in right here. But I'm like, I didn't get enough time.
I'm I'll tell you what. Myself free.
Well, you know what, boys, and thank you for the live chat. Like I said, it's an impromptu episode. We thought it's Saturday afternoon. Sydney continues to be in lockdown till 20 never, it seems. And we just thought Premier League's kicked back off. We had a first game, which obviously sparked a lot of excitement, not for everybody in this conversation, I'll say. And we thought, let's have a bit of a chat and go through it while it's relatively fresh and look to the games ahead, in particularly for our clubs, just as any final reflections before the long night that's going to be a long Sunday morning. So, Scott, without further ado, my man, let's get straight into it. Tell us what happened.
Well, nothing shocking happened, to be completely honest. We have come into the season underprepared. We have had deficiencies and areas that needed addressing in this squad for God knows how long, going all the way back to, you'll see behind me, I've got that Bergkamp jersey. That season when we left Highbury, we had deficiencies in the squad that still haven't been fixed. We've got an owner who doesn't care. We've got a manager who's inexperienced, and we've got a director of football who's never been a director of football. Add with that some of the players who aren't good enough, and you get what we got this morning. To be completely honest, it was not a great result. But before I get into some of the things I saw on the pitch, just wanted to say big ups to Brentford. Taking nothing away from them. As angry and annoyed as I am about the result, I was looking at their manager, Thomas Frank, and I was thinking, for a guy that's come up from the Championship, you used your home crowd to your advantage. He was buzzing him up, like geeing him up throughout the game. He's clearly watched Arsenal and knew exactly how to set his team up. And you could feel that buzz. Like if I was a neutral, I'm sure I would have absolutely loved that this morning. But I didn't have the privilege of being a neutral this morning. So I had to enjoy the other end. To me, to sum it up really briefly, what went wrong, what seems to always be going wrong. We dominate possession, and we didn't dominate as much as the game went on. We had the possession. We got up to their box. We ran out of ideas, and we started passing them backwards. You're not going to win Premier League matches when your attack breaks down near the box. We get up there and have no idea. Even then, we play it out to Kieran Tierney, who didn't have a good game, but you know what? He's been that good that he's allowed a stinker. And our attacking plan seems to just be cross the ball into the box. Problem is, Lacazette, not renowned for his aerial threat. Aubameyang has been playing out on the left, and again, he's not renowned for his aerial dominance. And this morning, Balogun came in. He's young, inexperienced, so I'm not going to hammer him. Martinelli's come back from the Olympics. Again, not someone renowned for his aerial threat. You know who would have tore that game up this morning? Old mate Giroud. He is perfectly suited to how we play. Too old now, but I reckon he would still come in and do a job and score plenty of goals. I don't know, boys. I could go on for an hour and a half talking about everything I saw wrong. But basically, they pressured us, they pressed us. And when you press Arsenal, we will make mistakes. And we made so many and should have been punished multiple times.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Scott, though, what did you, obviously much was made about the absence of Aubameyang and Lacazette, and we'll get to the forward incompetencies in a moment, but what did you make of your debutant Ben White's performance?
Yeah, look, he didn't have a good game. Okay, he didn't have a good game, but when you've got Callum Chambers as your right back, making plenty of mistakes, you've then got a partner in Pablo Mari who is inconsistent at best, very sluggish, not the strongest partner to have. It made Ben White's job harder, yeah? And then Leno letting in goals at the near post, that doesn't help either. So Ben White didn't have a good game, but it's also his first Premier League game for the club in a weakened back four. So, again, I'm not going to go in too hard hammering Ben White when he had some good preseason games as well.
Yes.
Robbie,
but
what do you think
I was actually going to say, as a neutral like me, Rob, what did you make of it? Because I know you're watching it pretty actively like myself.
Yeah, well, I was just as excited last night. I was thinking about, can't wait to get up, can't wait, because Premier League's back. And like I said, as much as we'll like a bit of banter and stuff like that, yes, man, I couldn't wait to watch the game. And as a neutral, I thought it was an enjoyable game. Well, obviously more on the Brentford side, because I thought, just like you guys said, they came from the Championship. They've come. This is a dream for them. They've playing the mighty Arsenal at home, fans in front of them, fans all back. Like I said, the crowd was buzzing. And what a performance. Like I said, they did dominate the first part of the game, Arsenal, but before half-time, they weren't just sitting there and counter-attacking. They were creating chances, and they could have had 3-4 before half-time. Like I said, obviously I knew we came on. I put a few things, but I thought the link-up play between the two, well, Tony and the wide guy on the right, I think his name was Mbabu or something. I have to get to know these Brentford guys. He looked so, the link-up play between those two looked really lethal. A lot of chances created between them. Arsenal did have. I thought Arsenal's best player was Emil Smith-Rowe. I thought he was the one that shone out of all the bad performances, but I thought he could have done a little bit better on that. Really good when he had done the half turn, went through on goal, and he kind of shot it straight at the keeper. I thought he could have picked a corner there just to do a little bit better. But again, I thought both keepers made some important saves, especially the Brentford keeper made it, that one from Pepe, I think it was. Great save there. But yeah, just quickly as well with Brentford, I think it was a nice touch as well when Saka came on, how they gave him the standing ovation. I thought that was a class touch as well.
The saddest part is that was my highlight of the game. My highlight of the game was when we subbed a player on and he got a standing ovation.
You know what, Scott? Just to add a bit of more pressure in terms of what Arteta must be feeling, while, again, we can talk and not sympathise but show some understanding, while they had a bit of lack of genuine firepower, noting two heavyweights up top, as a pretty semi-competent goalkeeper yourself, what did you make of those efforts or lack of from Leno? Because obviously you've let go of Martinez, you've kept Leno. He has justified his performances the season before, but I have to say, I know that the shots were, like the first shot was really well hit, but in a near post, it never looks good. And the second one, you've got to take more control of that box. So what did you think, mate?
I'll quickly jump in Borgie. I'm going to back you a little bit on that second one. In normal time, I didn't see nothing wrong with it. But when you did see the replay of that, I don't know how they didn't pull that back, because he was literally hugging Leno. That's definitely a foul, man, for me.
It's one of them things.
If you look from the back, he's actually wrapped his arms underneath him, man. So there's no way. I'm surprised they didn't check that on VAR at all.
Yeah.
But besides that, like I said, I do think they did create the most chances.
It's one of them ones, that tactic. It's like when Stoke were in there with Rory Delap and the long throw was their tactic. They got away with one today with that second goal. Now that the refs have seen that that's going to be a common tactic, they're going to pull that up. That goal won't be scored again next week or the week after, because he was very clearly obstructing Leno. In saying that, and Dennis is making some really good points in the live chat, there were just some really mind-boggling decisions. At 2-0, Nelson coming on, our attacking players on the bench were Saka and Nelson. and neither of them is going to go in and bang in the goals. Saka's a brilliant player, but he's not a goal scorer at this point. Nelson is someone who they're saying is meant to be going. I just can't get my head around the fact that players who were meant to be leaving and be sold are still here. Granit Xhaka taking the captain's armband. He's a brilliant captain for Switzerland because his heart is in Switzerland. But a couple of weeks ago, he wanted to go to Roma. The problem was they didn't offer us enough money. Now he's taking the captain's armband. I can't get my head around that. Kieran Tierney should have worn that armband, regardless of his game. Our next captain should be Kieran Tierney, and he should have worn the armband last night, not Xhaka. Not Xhaka.
Yeah, no. I could see a lot of passion coming from you, and we're going to touch on Xhaka in just a moment. But I just want to acknowledge the great live chat because I'm scanning it and just really taking note of some of the great comments. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell because we are working hard to try to spread the IFT love around the football community. So we really appreciate it. So keep doing your thing, live audience. But Scott, pivoting back to Arsenal, and I highlighted Xhaka. There was one moment in the match where I just thought to myself, what is this bloke on about? He just got ghosted completely. They intercepted the ball and they almost scored. It was just lucky that they took the wrong option, were too conservative. And I just think, how can you be that lack of awareness in the first game of the season?
I actually think he would thrive in the Serie A because the pace is a little bit slower. But part of it, I don't want to go in too hard on Granit Xhaka. I don't want to go in too hard because the back passes and this playing out from the back, we were putting him under enormous pressure too. Sometimes I'm a big believer that a keeper just needs to belt it up the field. When in doubt, kick it out, get it away from the goal. We are insistent under Mikel Arteta on playing out from the back. The problem is we don't have the personnel to play out from the back. And we draw pressure on ourselves when a team presses us the way that Brentford did, and the mistakes will come. Some of the passes Granit Xhaka was getting from Leno were putting him in a vulnerable position. And I'm not someone who would sit here and advocate for Granit Xhaka being a world beater. But some of the passes didn't help. Leno is a good goalkeeper, in my opinion, but he is not a good ball-playing goalkeeper. You saw it at Man City under Pep. He brought in multiple keepers until he got someone who could distribute the way that he wanted it distributed. And until we either sign the players to play Mikel Arteta's way from the back, we either sign them players or we need to change it. I'd like to see us go to a back five.
Yeah, and we quite clearly saw that with Thomas Tuchel when he took the reins over from Chelsea and Lampard. He was not like Arteta, but similar in the instance of really believing in their philosophy of trying to play that attacking, build-up play. But sometimes you need to acknowledge when something's not working, you've got to be a little bit more pragmatic. And unfortunately, I don't think Arteta is really demonstrating that pragmatism at the moment. He has in patches, but consistently I think he struggles with that. But I think this is a bit of a nice transition in terms of like the lack of that firepower I was talking about. Obviously, Aubameyang and Lacazette were ruled out not long before the match with some illness, whatever that was. What do you make of that? Is there something more sinister, or do you just take it on face value that there was an illness and that's just bad luck? Scott?
To me, something doesn't add up. I remember with Mesut Ozil when he was at the club. He was always sick or had a sore back, and there were things going on behind the scenes. To me, I've never played Premier League football. I'm never going to, except on Football Manager. But if I'm the captain of Arsenal Football Club, I had a large portion of last season off with malaria. I want to get back in that first game. I want to kick the first ball of the season and lead my team. I don't rate Aubameyang's leadership skills. Okay, and I know those two are very close. And there have been rumours about Lacazette leaving the club. I'm just wondering if something could be brewing behind the scenes. Is it Aubameyang being unhappy at the treatment of a mate? Is it that there could be a transfer? Or you know what? What I hope it is that they were just both genuinely sick and couldn't play and they'll be back for Chelsea next week. That's my hope. But I just kind of want to put one more comment out on that game because I know I've been a little bit ranty. I'm not normally this angry on streams.
We love it, mate.
No, I know that large portions of the live chat are enjoying it. But my kind of final point I want to make on that is you can blame Arteta all you want, but it starts from the top. Now, until our owners are interested in not just making profit from Arsenal Football Club, but competing, challenging, and winning with Arsenal Football Club, we are not going to compete with the bigger boys. We are not. Our owners need to pull their heads in. Edu needs to start doing the job that he's been signed to do to help build a squad with a clear identity. And Arteta needs to maybe stop being the whipping boy for the Cronkies. He's covering for them. He said that they backed him. I'm not seeing that Mikel Arteta's been backed. And if they don't trust him enough to back him, get rid of him and bring in someone you trust. But to me, the future is bleak until the Cronkies change or go. That's where I'm at.
I just want to get Robbie in on this as a non perhaps conflicted Gunners supporter. Obviously, this was a bad result. 2-0. There's no way of twisting it. There was expectations. The Gunners have a standard. They must win against a newly promoted team who hasn't been there for 74 years. But could this be, Robbie, from your point of view, a blessing in disguise while the transfer market's still active and they're talking about getting the likes of Martin Odegaard and obviously Maddison's still in and around, plus obviously Tammy Abraham? Do you think that this maybe strengthens the case for that? Or is it, no, this is just blatantly a bad result. Nothing good can come out of it?
It's a hard one. Look, man, you have to look from the inside coming out. I was actually, you know me, I like to look and listen to as much football content as I can. And after this today, I was actually on an Arsenal one I was listening to on YouTube as well. And the first thing they said is similar to what you just said. And a lot of people said, why would players want to come to Arsenal now? Like, for instance, take Tammy Abraham from your club, for instance. Would you, if you're Tammy Abraham, would you want to come in and say, yeah, I want to go like Arsenal look like doing absolute tatters at the moment. I'm going to go join them. Or would you rather go to a Roma at the moment? Or, for instance, Maddison. If you're a Maddison, even if it was 60 million, would you? I know we've had this conversation about the whole big clubs thing, but I'm talking about on the pitch at the moment. If you're a Maddison in Europe right now, or fighting for a top four with a club that backs their manager with a good proven manager, would you move? Yes or no?
It would take life-changing money.
Exactly.
For them to come. And this is where we're at. This is why we have to pay 50 million for a Ben White, because we are in that position now where clubs know that we desperately need players. So, no, I agree with you, Rob. I think you're making good points. I
think you guys might get the Odegaard over the line. Like I said, I think he might have had like a bit of a, he might have been happy like with the whole thing, because he's obviously a Real Madrid now. So for them to keep tweeting, yeah, he's pretty, they're going to go in for him, they're going to go in for him, I can see him happening. Madison, I definitely can't see happening. Number one, I can't see the Cronkies coming out and splashing 60 million. I'll see them go with an Odegaard, but you know, what happens with Emil Smith-Rowe then? Like, are they going to play with 2 10s or what? Because I think he's decent as well.
No, Smith-Rowe would probably shift out to the left.
Who drops out then? Aubameyang or what? Lacazette? Someone's got to drop from. He can't play all these players.
Mate, look, fortunately, they're not paying me the big bucks to figure it out. That's our
and if they keep being sick every game, you won't have to worry about people being unavailable. But in all seriousness, I think that Odegaard is moving closer, and I'm reading the comments closely from what Ancelotti's saying about increased competition. You know, Arsenal getting closer, was 60 million euro, now 45 is being quoted. So, look, if there was a here we go announcement from Fab saying it's on, I wouldn't be shocked, put it that way.
You know what? Listen to what you just said, man. And I know we're about to jump onto the Man United game as well. But it's a player then who is frightened of increased competition at Real Madrid. That's the mentality of player that we're about to go spend 45 million on. Like, we've got Torreira put up a picture on Twitter. He's overseas on some holiday. Lucas Torreira is still contracted to Arsenal. We've just sold Joe Willock to Newcastle. someone who I
Yeah.
didn't rate originally, but looks like he has exactly what we're lacking. So there's some worrying times. We've got Willian, God knows what he's doing at the moment. But
100,000 a week for what?
we are a mess, and it comes from the owners. But let's move on to Man United. I've ranted too much.
You feel better, just quickly? Do you feel better about that rant?
No.
Okay.
I'm desensitized to it. This isn't even me angry. This is just me whinging because I'm desensitized. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed.
We'll take a moment to chill. Let's pivot to tonight's blockbuster clash at 9:30 Sydney time. Manchester United versus the old enemy in Leeds United. What a game we are in store for. Rob, we spoke about it during our episode on Thursday night. But, mate, how are you feeling at the moment? Have you been following the press conference? What's your gut instinct at the moment on this game?
Well, just so I can use it again at the moment, boys, I am buzzing again. Just for
I love
now,
it.
look, if I'm being honest, boys, you know me, I love my banter, but I'm so excited. First game of the season again with the whole thing. 75,000 at Old Trafford. I'm hoping Sancho's gonna make an appearance as well. The big theatre of dreams. Everyone wants the new toys on show, but I am very nervous, and the reason is because we haven't had a complete preseason. Obviously, all the boys from the Euros have obviously didn't have a full preseason, but not just that, but we had a little bit of a COVID last week, I think it was. We had a bit of a COVID scare, and we had to cancel one of our preseason games. So I think our big boys, the starting 11 boys, they've only had 45 minutes last week against Everton. I do have to admit it was a great 45 minutes. We're up 3-0 in about 25 minutes. But I am worried because of Bielsa ball. And Leeds would have had a full preseason, but who I think was just Calvin Phillips that was in the Euros out of the whole league. So they're going to have a full squad, full preseason, and they're such a high-intensity team. So for me, I'm hoping if we're going to get the job done, I think it's going to have to be done in the first 60 minutes or the first half, the first 60 minutes, because I am worried that some of the boys are going to tire in the legs, and their constant press could catch up and haunt us in the end. So, yeah, I do think I'm hoping we get this over the line, but, yeah, I'm not confident. I think it's going to be a very hard game.
No doubt. Scott, what do you think, mate, as a neutral on the fence with this? Do you share the same nervousness Rob would have for United, or do you think they're going to blow Leeds apart at Old Trafford?
No, I don't think they'll blow Leeds apart. Leeds showed last season that they can score goals. I do think Man United will win the game, but I think there's going to be a cracking amount of goals in it. I think it'll be a great match. I can see that Miz in the live chat has said, I'll just chuck that up, watch out for Rafinha and Bamford and Calvin Phillips. Like, they're three really good players that potentially could make the Man United team. So I think it's going to be exciting.
Just quickly at the Cloud, I seen he tagged me in one. He said, is there any United outs? Well, obviously, Rashford's going to be out to October with a shoulder injury. Varane hasn't even been announced yet, so he's definitely not going to be there. And obviously, Cavani, he's just come back last week, so he's still in quarantine. So for me, again, I was thinking at least two of those players would have been in there. So, yeah, I think it could be Mason. It could be Mason through the middle. I'm hoping a Sancho on the right and a Martial off the left. Or, like I said, they could switch over. So who knows? But, yeah, I think from our back line, obviously, it's not going to have Varane, but I'm quite happy with our back line. The big question as well, I can't wait for 8:30 for this team lineup, because a lot of people say, is it going to be the 4-3-3 that Ollie is supposed to be wanting to go with this year, or is it going to be the 4-2-3-1 with the two pivots? If it is the two pivots, as we've seen in the Everton game, I really want Matic in that team. Matic, and I'd like to see Van der Beek's right next to him with the two pivots, because they looked really good. But who knows, man? He could go back and play McFred for all we know. So a lot of people are really interested to see the lineup at 8:30.
Yeah, speaking of lineups,
Shaw is ready.
Yeah.
Sorry, declared. I didn't say that.
Good. That's good for my fantasy comp. But yeah, this is a good comment. What's the deal with Martial? I actually wanted to bring up Martial because I did read the article about Ollie's comment saying that he's expecting big things from Anthony this season. What are your thoughts on that personally? Do you think is he just promoting him up, or is he trying to spark him, or do you genuinely think he believes in him to have a starring role?
I think exactly what Mrs. wrote there at the end. Do or die this year for him. He's been good. Obviously, last year was probably his worst year. He did cop an injury a few months ago, so I think he got 8 goals maybe last year all up. So for someone who's supposed to be the number 9 or someone that's supposed to chip in with quite a few goals, he was just not in form at all last year. So yeah, I'm hoping now he's had his injury, he's recovered, he's had most of the preseason. Yeah, I'm put it this way, I'm more confident in Mason Greenwood scoring tonight than Martial. But for me, I personally want him to see good because I am a fan of Martial. Again, I don't know if he's going to play off the left or he's going to play down the middle. But I love to see him score a goal for confidence because he's definitely a confidence player and he needs it.
Interesting. Scott, what do you think of the much headlined, return to the Premier League of the young English hope in Jadon Sancho? Do you think he's going to start off with a bang or is he going to take time to adjust?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And hopefully there's not too much background noise coming through on my mic. My neighbour's kids are having a field day in the backyard at this time. They should go have some dinner and do some reading. But I'm not a teacher right now. I'm a fan. Yeah. No, they're Brentford fans. They sound like they're buzzing. But yeah, look, I think it'll be interesting to see Sancho back. He's a player with a lot of flair. He's someone who I did see a bit of at Dortmund, and I think he'll bring plenty to the table for them. They've wanted him for long enough. So now they finally got him. I'm curious to see what he can do. Obviously, I would say he's going to need some time to adapt. This isn't the Bundesliga. This is the Premier League. And in the Premier League, there are no easy matches anywhere. But I think he's going to have a good season. I definitely think he'll have a good season. Looking forward to seeing him up against Leeds, where he'll have plenty of opportunities to attack.
What do you think, Rob? Are you in agreement with Scott there, or you think, what are you talking about? Let the United expert tell you how it's really going to be like.
No, I think he's on the money there, man. Like I said, the big thing is if he starts, I'd personally like to see him start, get 60 minutes in, and then, like I said, it's a little bit less pressure if he hasn't got the job done. Like I said, we'll get chances in behind, and I can see someone like a Daniel James being used tonight with his speed, man. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of things interesting to see, from my perspective, I'm particularly interested in seeing how our boys, champions of Europe, you know who we are, taking on the Eagles at Stamford Bridge. And you spoke about Mason, but the only Mason I'm interested is in Mason Mount, and to seeing how he returns from the England camp, obviously disappointed with the Euros loss. He did have a decent turnout the other night against Villarreal, but for me, I suppose I'm a little bit concerned about the loss of Ziyech because he was starting in really good form in the preseason and it does offer that different point of attack for us. So how we cope with handling his absence is going to be interesting. But Tuchel also alarmingly raised that there might be some concerns with N'Golo Kante. Now, he did play a strong match again against Villarreal in the Super Cup, but I'm hoping that this is more of a precautionary comment. But if he's out, that means in my mind that they're going to revert back to the Jovetic pairing of Mateo Kovacic, our new number 8, and of course, Jorginho. For me, they have a more natural chemistry, but they are physically inferior like anybody else when Kante is not available. So how they handle the physical presence without Kante against a tough team like Palace is going to be interesting. But overall, just some quick thoughts. We've had some good history against Palace. They have swapped over a fair few players. They've lost a lot of experience. Gary Cahill, Townsend, I think McCarthy as well. And they've brought in some good talent. And I'm quite keen to see how Patrick Vieira, as we said the other night, how he finds his feet, because they have played a few preseason games and have had a good record, winning all, I think, except one, drawing. And they most recently beat Watford 3-1. So they're going to be ready for this physically, I think. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for us. And I do think it's going to be a lot tighter than what people think. What do you think, Robbie, in terms of how you make this game based on that sort of backdrop?
Look, man, I'm strongly on the Chelsea side here. I really think they'll do this a bit more comfortable than you think. I've already given you what my thoughts on Patrick Vieira. I didn't rate him from what I've seen of him at previous clubs, and I do think it's going to be a bit early on. Like I said, he has they might preseason's preseason. I don't really look into preseason results a lot, but they've cleared a lot out and they've got a lot of new in. I just gonna think it's a little bit too easy, man, or too early to face someone at a Chelsea caliber. The thing I was going to ask you, what's the go? Is Havertz going to play? Because this is the big question I wanted to know. Will Havertz play after 120 minutes the other night? Because I think he's going to have a big role to play.
Absolutely. It's a very fair question. I think Miz also has alluded to that in the live chat about we've lost the edge. Mount's slowly finding his feet. Lukaku's obviously not available for this match. So where did the goals come from? And part of me answers your question that Havertz, in my mind, and I know Miz and I discussed this earlier during a stream we did for RCBN, who also is a great supporter of the show, so go check out his content. I do think despite playing 120 minutes early in this stage of the season, I just saw a comment from our good mate David there. Good job, buddy. I think he will start. I just don't think he's going to play the full 90 minutes. I think it'll be Werner, Havertz and Mount that make up that front three. Basically, that's what we went with in the Champions League final, and that had a pretty good result from memory. So I think that's what's going to happen there. But I do think a low-key important thing for our attack will be our wing-backs. So if it's Alonso that starts on there, and if it's Callum Hudson-Odoi, which I suspect it probably will be, they're going to need to really take the bull by the horns and create that width and really stretch Palace apart. And it'll be incumbent on Jorginho and Kovacic to really dictate the tempo in the midfield. So that's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, no, it's going to be a cracking night of games because obviously there's more than just our two games, but it's obviously a point of interest for us. Boys, look, I think we've done a pretty good job here. Any final thoughts? I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I've got exciting news to share. I'm glad there's a few people in the live chat to have a look. IFT podcast have formed a little bit of a relationship and a sponsorship with Hanwell Town. So it's a club based in London, and from what I've gathered, they're formed by Newcastle fans. So Newcastle fans in London, I'm sure that would be a heck of a good time. But this season, I'll show you their Twitter. So this is Hanwell Town here. Hanwell Town FC. This is the team that the IFT boys unanimously are backing. All three of us, we get to share one team and cheer for one team together. And we love you guys to get on. Follow their page as well because they are our adopted team.
Hanwell.
That's it. They are our adopted team in non-league football in London. And this season, really happy to share, and I'll just have to change my screen again. Really happy to share that we've got a player that we are sponsoring for Hanwell Town. So every time he scores, and this is our man, Kai O'Brosnan.
Kai, I like it.
Kai O'Brosnan.
It's Kai time. Forget Kai Havertz. It's Kai O'Brosnan.
That's right. This is our main man, Kai O'Brosnan. So every time he scores for Hanwell Town this season, you are going to see that on the screen. So you're going to see his name and supported by the IFT podcast AU. George, that's a really cheeky comment, my man. Can you put that up on the screen, RJ? It's just come up at the bottom. There it is. I've got it. They're a shout at beating Arsenal in the FA Cup. You know what? I would still be sad, but if our man Kai O'Brosnan hits a few, why not? So we thought we'd share that tonight as well. Get over, jump on their page, follow them. We just thought this was a really cool initiative and really great fun. So Kai O'Brosnan.
We're proud of that, and we're looking forward to doing these sorts of things to sort of give back a little bit too, because, you know, it's not always about the top end of town. We're trying to be humble and hardworking, and that's what Kai and his teammates at Hanwell are trying to endeavour to better themselves. So get on board with that. And speaking of, this live stream has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of the discussions, the questions, the insightful comments as usual. Really support all of the, you know, the love and affection you guys give us. So continue to hit that like button, spread it around. Make sure you hit that notification bell, and we really want to grow that subscription base and hit that 500 plus mark as soon as possible. But until that, guys, I think that's a wrap. Enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, wherever you're residing. And until then, we'll catch up next time. Stay safe and take
Palace.
care. Come on,
United.
We're all Palace.
Take care, guys.
Hey, boys, be safe. Be safe.